This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Let your imagination take flight with an AI-powered PC from Lenovo. Whether it's creating digital art, designing new software, or building a portfolio for a future career, our PCs are powered by Intel Core Ultra processors to help students unlock smarter learning and unleash their creativity. That's the power of Lenovo with Intel inside. All you have to do is choose the one that fits your passion. Head to Lenovo.com to shop AI PCs and find your perfect companion. Plus, get 5% off when you create an education account.
Thanks to friends at Unreal, you can restock your wardrobe with Unreal Golf Apparel this year, just like Common. Register to win up to $1,000 in Unreal Golf Apparel on our contest page. One lucky winner will restock their closet with amazing golf apparel thanks to Unreal. That's KFAN.com. Keyword contest to enter today.
Fast-paced, action-packed, and controversial. What's new for the Common Man program? Hour number 2. Let's go ahead and dive into 534.
Time now for 5 questions. Well, actually 3, but 5 sounds like more than 4. Question number 1. And now it's time for the 7th inning stretch.
Byron Buxton hit a double. Joe Ryan pitched a 1-2-3 inning, but the American League lost to the National League in a swing-off in last night's All-Star game. Tom, did you watch last night's game, and what did you think of the swing-off?
A couple of things. I was, they delivered that boiling hot vat of asphalt last night, so guy shows up in the truck, got to move stuff around in the garage, so I was not able to see the All-Star game. I didn't know they did a swing-off, they call it. And in the story I read today, that's been in place for a year or two. Is this the first time they actually had to do it?
I guess first time they've ever done it, yeah.
Though I think it was in place if it would have happened a year or two ago, if I understood the story correctly. Look, at no harm, no foul. It's not a big deal. I don't really care that much. But I'm just, and you know, I'm not a complete purist and traditionalist. I like, you know, when they put the what do they call the runner they put on second base? The free runner, whatever they call it when they get to extra innings. I'm not a big fan of that, but I get it. They don't want the game to go on. I mean, if you're tied after 9, the next thing you know, go to the top of the 18th. And so I get it, you know, but it was just a home run derby again, right? Yeah. You put somebody up there, he gets to select, he gets his dad to throw him a pitch, grab somebody out of the crowd, get a hot dog vendor and throw up little lollipops and see if you can knock it out of the park. And it's not deciding the World Series, so it's just an All-Star game, so it's okay, but I think
for the All-Star game, it's great.
It's okay, yeah.
And clearly, I don't have a desire to have it be a regular thing that happens in actual baseball games, but for the All-Star game, especially because they don't want, they've already depleted the bench and they don't want those guys playing forever. I think it was great for one specific game.
I would rather see. Here's where I'll differ with you. I would find a different solution than a swing off because it's really, there's no skill there. You're swinging as hard as you can at a lollipop thrown to you. How about, remember when you were a kid and you were choosing teams to see who would pick first? One guy would throw the bat to another guy and you'd catch it down by the bottom. Then you'd go hand over hand on the bat. And then sometimes we would do this where the last person, let's say you got your hand right under that little knob on the bat. You would take the knob with your fingers and claw grip it, and then the other guy would get one kick to see if he could knock it out of your hand. And if he did, he would get first pick. If he didn't, the guy that was holding the bat would get first pick. I'd rather have seen that last night. That'd be way more fun than just watching. Here's some big gorilla somebody's gonna throw lollipop beach balls to him and he hits it over the fence. It's okay if you like that. I'd rather come up with something like I say, to me, more creative and the bat, catching the bat and doing that. And then you got to decide who are you going to have catch the bat, and then who gets to kick the bat out of the other guy's hand? That would just be, to me, that would be more entertaining than just, we're going to do a home run derby to see who wins it. But I'm different.
Question number 2.
We're gonna win, Twins, we're gonna score.
It's now time to delve deep into Twins territory.
Crack out a home run, shout a hit, hooray! Cheer for the Minnesota Twins today.
Yeah, All-Star break, that means it's time for your Minnesota Twins mid-season awards. I feel like some of them might be a little bit more obvious this year than in past years, but I'll ask them anyways. Common, your mid-season MVP for your Minnesota Twins.
Simeon Woods Richardson and David Festa. Lavelle basically wrote that they saved the season. They've stabilized the pitching staff. And if you look at the numbers, they've been really good like the last couple of weeks. After basically they went from, like Lavelle writes, going into the season, the pitching staff was sort of kind of thought of as maybe that might be the strength of the team. They liked their 3 starters, the 3 main starters, Lopez, Ober, and Ryan. The bullpen, they had good arms there, guys that were effective last year. And again, we talked about this yesterday. They don't really pitch anymore. They just throw as hard as they can. They're throwers, not pitchers. We got some good throwers coming out of the bullpen. And then Simeon Woods Richardson was like your 4 starter, and then I don't even know who was 5. I don't remember now. What's his name? The guy that used to Paddock. Okay, so matter of fact, maybe Simeon Woods Richardson would be considered the 4 starter. He performed so poorly, they sent him back to the minors. He was in St. Paul. They called him back up, and like Lavelle mentioned in the piece, he did a nice job with it too. He's still not even, he's going 5 at the most, but he's been really good. His ERA's been terrific. Festa's in that same boat. He had a terrible ERA, but the last month his last handful of starts, he's been really good. So I think those 2 guys, because because the offense has not been very good other than Byron Buxton. I know he would be the obvious choice for MVP. And I'm doing a little tongue in cheek. It goes to Buxton, but I don't think I think Lavelle made a really good point. I don't think you can undersell what those 2 kids did, because without some pitching performance for some of them, it could be even uglier. But I would say, obviously it's Buxton, but I think those 2 pitchers should get, and of course Joe Ryan, but of course Lavelle. If you've already got an MVP and you got a Cy Young, you can't vote for the same guy you can't use a pitcher as the MVP of the team. So it would be Byron.
How about midseason biggest disappointment?
A tie between Lewis and Correa.
Yeah.
Lewis can't stay healthy, and then Correa just, it hasn't been there. It just hasn't. And for the kind of money you're paying him, and I know we got the one listener who likes to text about how much he loves Correa's fielding, and it is nice. It's a nice asset. If you're looking for 5 tool players, you want a guy with a glove and an arm, but you got to be able to hit the ball when you get that kind of. They were supposed to be one of our big 3, so I would say those 2 are probably the biggest disappointment.
And finally, midseason biggest surprise.
I would say it's the 2 guys there's Bader in France. Mm-hmm. There's Clemens, and then who's the maybe who's the guy that had the walk-off bunt and then the walk-off home run?
Brooks Lee.
No, not Lee. No, it's not Lee.
Well, he's the one who had the walk-off bunt.
Did he? Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Bader's the guy I'm thinking about. I would say those are the biggest surprises for me. Yeah.
Question number 3. And now it's time to go in the trenches.
In a social media clip Netflix Sports posted that was an advertisement for Netflix's Quarterback 2 series, Lions quarterback Jared Goff listed as top 10 quarterbacks of all time. He said Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Joe Montana, John Elway, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, Brett Favre, and Aaron Rodgers. Common, what do you think of Goff's list?
Typical, only guys from the last 10, 15 years, and maybe just goes by the guys he was watching. Sammy Baugh was the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. We know that. No one's had more average yards per pass completion than anybody in the history of the game, and that's before they were really, throwing the ball around. There's Johnny Unitas and Bart Starr, and and I know you've got Bobby Lane for the Kitties. There's so many great ones from the olden days, and people don't want to consider those. But the names he mentioned are, it's kind of a who's who of the best quarterbacks that have played the game over the past 25, 30, 40 years. So it's hard to argue with any of those people on that list. There's always another player or two you could, Fran Tarkenton. He was a hell of a quarterback, too. Even guys for maybe not as long as stretches. Steve Young had a pretty good career. Did he have Marino on that list?
He did not have Marino, and I think the biggest omission, he did not have Pat Mahomes.
Yeah. Oh, he doesn't. And so he doesn't have Pat Mahomes.
Some of those guys you could definitely argue against Mahomes. Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers are nowhere near Pat Mahomes.
Yeah. Well, but I wouldn't just kick. See, you and I differ on Eli Manning.
He's nowhere near Pat Mahomes.
Well, I'm not saying he is, but you dismiss him as an average quarterback. He's got 2 big games. I'll take 2 big games over stats and numbers and this game appearance and that game appearance, and he was instrumental in those seasons.
I'm just arguing him against Pat Mahomes.
Well, then
Mahomes also has those championships.
You could make an argument Mahomes is already on that list.
I agree.
Yeah,
you could.
So you have something against.
It's a bad omission.
You have something against Eli Manning.
I also said Phillip Rivers.
Oh, well, yeah.
Phillip Rivers is nowhere near Pat Mahomes.
No, I would agree with you. But again, I'm not that concerned about what Jared Goff says. Leaving Sammy Baugh off the list is a bigger omission than Pat Mahomes because Sammy
and
Baugh
Otto Graham
and Otto Graham. Those are the 2 best quarterbacks ever played the game.
We'll break. And that's it for today's edition of 5 Questions. Well, actually, 3 questions, but 5 sounds like more than 4.
And we'll come back with a little distat lap. Right now, Tenna's got a keyword, and people are waiting with bated breath.
The Fan and BigDeck.com want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with our national cash contest. Enter the keyword bank at KFAN.com now for a shot at winning. That keyword is bank. Enter now at KFAN.com.
Are you shopping for a new laptop while still trying to keep up with technology and AI? Talk about feeling burnt out. But no more. Lenovo.com makes it easier than ever to find the perfect PC. In fact, we'll break it down for you. Step 1. Shop our lineup of AI PCs powered by Intel Core Ultra processors. Because why deal with downloading new software when you can buy a smarter PC that already comes with all of the AI features and tools? Step 2. Find the one that fits your passion. Whether you're a creative genius, a research scientist, a hardcore gamer, or a future CEO, no dream is too big. That's the power of Lenovo with Intel inside. You can keep up with your ideas as well as any challenges you may face. Step 3. Add to cart and purchase. Oh, if you're a college student or a teacher, make an education account through us and get 5% off your whole order. Shop now at Lenovo.com. A better future is waiting, and it needs you.
Get ready. Comedian Nate Bargatze is bringing 2 nights of laughs to XL Energy Center. Don't miss out on the hilarity when he takes the stage on Saturday, July 26th and Sunday, July 27th with the Big Dumb Eyes World Tour. Limited tickets are still available. Get all the details now at KFAN.com keyword calendar.
A lot of people weighing in on the Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line, also the Holla hotline. 200% Finlander guy who's a longtime listener writes, I thought Otto Graham was the greatest quarterback ever. I erred. I think I said Sammy Baugh. I do mean Otto Graham is the best quarterback ever. And then I would put Sling and Sammy Baugh. I don't know if I'd put him number 2. I'd probably go with Otto Graham number 1, Sonny Jurgensen number 2, Tobin Rote number 3, Bobby Lane number 4, and then I don't know. You can pick any of the other guys, including
Jay Cutler.
Yeah, maybe Jay Cutler at number 5. Someone disagrees with you vehemently. Says put Phil Rivers on these Chiefs Super Bowl teams, and he's got the same amount of rings as Patrick.
Okay.
Rivers could he could sling it. He could spin it. What do we say? Spin it.
He could spin it.
He could spin it, but yeah, I don't think he was quite as good as Patrick Mahomes. But I thought Rivers was a little underrated. I mean,
I bet Mahomes has won more playoff games in one season than Rivers has his entire career.
But sometimes it's like who you got around you too, because like Stafford played with all those Lions teams and was awful, and he leaves it and goes and wins a big game right away. So sometimes it can be. I don't. San Diego's been one of the. I just don't. They've had their moment. They did get to one big game back in the olden days. They played San Francisco and they got just bashed. I made an appearance at a sports bar, or actually it was a hotel bar. Nobody knew who I was. Probably to this day don't know who I am, but I watched that in a hotel bar down on the 494 Strip. And that was wasn't that 55-10? Do I have that score right? Didn't San Francisco beat San Diego like 55-10?
Something like that.
It was just a complete beatdown. The one thing that I found interesting from the All-Star game, there were 4 or 5 challenges that reversed calls in the first All-Star use of the robot umpire. And you witnessed robot umpire at a Saints game, right?
Yep.
Now, I thought maybe I really wasn't listening. I was just waiting for my turn to talk. When in the Saints games, did they only use RoboCop on challenges, or did it call every
challenges?
Yep. See, here's my issue. I mean, that kind of shows you 4 or 5 challenges were correct. It goes back to the discussion we had. I think it was with Lavelle when he showed up for an hour when Rosen was gone, and we were talking about I think is one of the most egregious sins in all of sports is that the umpire gets to determine what he thinks the strike zone is. I just think, no, the strike zone is, and I don't know anymore if it's from the armpits down to the top of the knees or it's the letters to the knees. I'm not sure what it is, but it is what it is. And now you might still miss the call, but you don't go, this is the way I'm calling him today because I think that pitcher is really hitting his spot, so I'm going to give it to him. And that's what some of these umpires say, and it's preposterous. What I thought all along, and maybe I just misunderstood, I guess. I thought you would have the robot umpire calling every pitch, and the umpire behind the plate obviously would be there for foul tips, for plays at the plate, and he would be just basically the messenger. So in other words, he's standing behind. Here's the windup in the pitch, and immediately, that Robo ump knows immediately if it's a ball or a strike, right? And so, like, who's ever up in the booth with Robo ump with the camera just says that's a strike, ball, strike, and then the umpire makes the signal. Because some are obvious as if it's right down the plate, but the challenge thing then becomes if they do it during the regular season, and I think the competition committee is going to vote on it sometime during the off season, whether they install it during games, then it sort of becomes like the challenges in the NFL. And I still don't know if I understand the NFL challenge. As long as you keep getting them right, you can keep challenging, or are you still limited to a certain extent? And same with the NBA, right? You challenge, you got to be correct, or there's some kind of a punishment. So I don't know what they'll do in baseball, but I just thought they would use the Robo ump, just the electronic thing because it sounds like it's really pretty darn accurate. Why they wouldn't just use that as the official call and just have the umpire behind the plate just relay to everybody watching.
I don't know if just from a game flow timing, how long that would take, right? Like you don't want to wait, even just waiting 2-3 seconds before you get your ball strike call would delay the game too much. But I don't know I'm assuming they can get it relatively quickly. Yeah. Maybe that would be the problem. But to me, the way we saw it last night was the exact way I saw the Saints game, and I don't know how you can't like it.
Yeah.
I'm with you that if you want to go further with it, that's another discussion.
Yeah.
But between how the current process works and the way they did it last night, to me, it's a no-brainer to at least advance it to that part.
Well,
where you can challenge it.
Because I've always had this theory that oftentimes an umpire gets as caught up in the game as the next guy, and he likes doing a strike 3 punch-out call where he gets real dramatic, and sometimes it's close enough, and he just feels like this, the crowd's on their feet, they're roaring, here comes the 3-2 pitch, 2 on, 2 out, and it's a ball, but I want to do the punch-out. So he does the punch out and he gets goosebumps and everybody cheers and the guy at the plate's irritated. So, yeah.
And they can just make mistakes.
And they can make mistakes.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
The ball's coming in at 100 miles per hour. It's hard to tell if that was on the outside corner or an inch off.
And as we saw last night, did I read this story right? 5 challenges and 4 were overturned. So that means the 4 to the 5 calls that the umpire made were wrong. And I don't know how many of that, game in, game out there is. And look at umpiring, you're right. I mean, that ball's coming in. We talked about it. No one's throwing 52-mile-an-hour slurves anymore. They're throwing the ball 100 miles an hour as close as they can do it. And it's quick. It's boom, boom. Matter of fact, when you watch some of the replays of a pitch when they're, on a swing and a miss or something, I mean, those guys are swinging the bat before the ball's even like halfway to home plate. You have to because it's coming so fast. So, now someone said, last year, AAA split games between full ABS, Robo bump, and challenge system.
They did both.
Yeah, well, I thought there was some talk about that. And I would like to get a ball guy that maybe has seen the full ABS, if they like that or not. Because that's what I thought we were headed to. And I was kind of all for that. I hate to put umpires out of work, but...
And we still might be heading towards it.
We might. Yeah, we might. But
I feel like the challenge system is just like a progression to get us to that point.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just you taking it step by step, as Eddie Rabbit once sang song. Oak in next for some rock talk. Got a couple of controversial issues to get to with Oak, and we'll do that next here on the Common Man program on the Fan.
Unlock smarter learning with Lenovo AI-powered PCs powered by Intel Core Ultra processors. Head to Lenovo.com and choose from multiple devices to fit your passions. If you're a gamer, you can spend less time stressing about GPUs and CPUs and more time dominating with your AI-enabled Smart Engine, which optimizes your game performance in real time. Or maybe you're a scientist on the verge of a groundbreaking discovery and need a device with a longer battery life and AI-enhanced tools to give you extra time to finish your research. Or you're a musician preparing for your biggest break and need better, faster AI tools to make digital art a breeze, like creating band posters and t-shirt designs. Or you're a soon-to-be graduate needing to catch a recruiter's eye to land that dream job, so you need cutting-edge smart tools to build your portfolio from scratch. That's the power of Lenovo with Intel inside. Plus, college students and teachers get 5% off with an education account on Lenovo.com. A better future is waiting, and it needs you.
All of America's mystery cards are back, and we're bringing them to you all summer long. Come grab yours at KFAN events throughout the summer and wherever you see our KFAN street team. Then make sure to redeem them at Mall of America for fun prizes and big discounts. See full list of events at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Couple 13-14 pastime comedies, 10 to be. It's time for Rock Talk, every Wednesday, 1:30. Legendary Brian Oak. The Brian Oak podcast. More on that later. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure. In fact, I'm a little like duck out of water. No, what is it? Fish out of water?
Yeah.
I was just recording a podcast, episode 499, by the way, and I left my laptop at the podcast studio, and I hate doing that. So I feel naked. I don't have my stuff.
499 podcasts on the air. 499 podcasts.
Tomorrow we're doing number 500, man. It's going to be exciting.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, more on that later. You're familiar with Miley Cyrus?
I am, in fact.
Miley Cyrus. Do you like Miley Cyrus?
I think Miley Cyrus is cool. Well, when someone's a Disney princess, right, or comes up in that sort of ilk, you don't hold a lot of hope for the future. I think that most of them end up going more the path of, say, a Hillary Duff, who had a decent, fun little pop career for a while after she graduated from whatever her show was called on Disney or Nickelodeon or whatever. But it's not like what you'd call call an enduring artist, where I feel like Miley Cyrus has a lot more juice in the tank and is a more interesting character. And yeah, she went through her wild child, bad girl era. But now every time I hear an interview with her, she sounds like a really responsible, level-headed adult. I like her a lot.
Well, in that, I think she's maybe tormented by those demons of wild child, because she's releasing a new album, apparently, and she was on Good Morning America the other day, and she said that she has decided not to go on tour to promote an album, because that's what most people do, right? It's like you have an album, you go on tour, and then you hope people will buy the album. She said, I do have the physical ability and I have the opportunities to tour. I wish I had the desire, but I don't. I also don't think that there's actually an infrastructure that supports artists. She says the artists like Prince that are not here today, that lived such a high-intensity lifestyle out on the road, it's really hard to maintain sobriety when you're on the road, which is a really important pillar of stability in my life. It's really hard to keep mental wellness on tour. You have so many thousands of people screaming at you. So dopamine, you're feeling a lot of love, and then you totally crash at the end of the show. You start thinking that one person loving you is not enough. It needs to be 10,000, and then it needs to be 80,000. She clarified that her decision to tour has nothing to do with being afraid of the challenge. I like to do things I'm afraid of. I've jumped out of airplanes and performed before 150,000 people. But she still feels as though the sobriety part is an issue. And it's like, and I guess I understand everybody deals with their demons in the own way they are. But, and I know it's not just, for a lot of people, it's not just as simple as show's over, get back in your limo, go to your room and go to bed.
Right.
You know? You don't have to live. And I'm going to equate this a little bit to what Scotty Scheffler said yesterday about golf, how it's not all he is about. And he talks about, she's talking about the dopamine and stuff like that. He talks about, like, after you win the tournament, 2 minutes later, it's like, okay, that's over. What do we do now? What are we going to have for dinner tonight?
Right.
And so maybe she hasn't been able to, and everybody has to compartmentalize or approach things differently, but she gets so high on the rush of the people fawning over in the crowd that it's hard for her to get away from that or whatever. And a guy like Scheffler just said, let's go home and have dinner and just don't worry about it. But I just found that interesting that these people that have toured their whole life, and she's had some substance abuse issues. So, but I found that curious that she's decided not to go on tour.
Well, there's I think not just in the world of entertainment, but it's probably needed there more than anywhere else. There is this new movement of people who are open advocates of therapy, of self-care, of putting yourself in a position to succeed. If she were to go on tour, it would be a sold-out arena tour. She would sell out everywhere she goes. She would make untold millions. She's already got plenty of money. So for her to prioritize, but still, that's always the thing, right? There are a lot of other people who want a slice of that pie, no matter how small it is. And there's a lot of pressure for her to, okay, well, you put out this record, we put all this effort into you, now you go on tour, and this is where it pays the dividends. And for her to put her own well-being and sobriety in front of that, I think is A, super adult. B, I don't know how the industry responds to it when people do it like that. But if it's going to keep her clean, keep her on the right path, and keep her head right, and frankly, I mean, a lot of those stories end with people dying or doing something stupid. So if this is what she needs to do to maintain her sobriety, for people who haven't gone through recovery or experienced things like that, it's difficult to explain, but I think she's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And I think it sounds like a very, very grown-up thing to do.
Well, it is different for everybody. Like for me, I put the cork in the bottle, and I didn't do a treatment thing or anything like that. And I was still able, you wonder, am I going to be able to hang out with my old friends that are like, don't need a beer? I'm going to have one and have a beer, and multicolored galaxy of uppers and outers and screamers. I never found that a problem for me. It was still like, okay, I've put that behind me because my friends still like to partake in that kind of a lifestyle. I don't want to turn my back on them and not spend time with them.
Right.
And so I don't see a lot of my Haight Ashbury buddies anymore now because it's been like, a long, long time. Matter of fact, some of them have gone to the great beyond.
Right.
But I never found that for me personally as a problem. It wasn't like I got tempted all of a sudden. It was like, boy, look at them, they're doing it. I want to be in that again.
Well, I think you're the exception and not the rule, because I think most people, it's one more tool in your arsenal of sobriety, right? As you keep yourself out of environments that used to be your triggers. I mean, think about her life, right? She was whisked away to here. There are as many parties as she could ever want to go to, and she'll always be the most famous person in the room, which everyone wants to accommodate, and people will look to her to sort of be the Pied Piper of the party, right? That's what the game is like. And anything she ever wanted, if she started to fall, go down the hill or relapse, she's powerful and wealthy enough that she could get her hands on anything she wanted any hour of the day. And so I think to avoid those temptations, especially for someone who's spent a long time wallowing in them, to do this, it's smart. She's only 32 years old, man. It's a very, very smart thing to do. She's obviously been a star since she was a child, but it takes a lot to not succumb to those things and just realize that even though the shows would be great and the fans would be great, maybe it's not right for her head, and it doesn't set her up to succeed when it comes to sobriety.
Someone's asking a question for Rock Talk on the Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line of 64686. It says, ask Oak about Matt Cameron leaving Pearl Jam after 27 years. That announcement was made, I think, a week or two ago.
It was a while back.
And I'm not I know of the band. Again, it was, you've heard me do this bit before. Like, I think not everybody, your jukebox continues to grow and grow and grow. I think you're up to
my entire life.
Yeah. And like for me, it's like, I got to a certain point where other priorities came about. And like when I started doing music radio as a PD when I was out in Wyoming, my whole thing was just the music we played was all I paid attention to. So I just kind of, my jukebox just stopped at a certain era. And Pearl Jam was never my wheelhouse, but is as successful a band as there's been in the last 50 years, right?
Yep.
And what do you know anything about the Cameron leaving Pearl Jam? Just one of those things where, you know what, it's just time to try something different. 27 years is a long time with a band.
It is. It's a long time with the band, and he's enjoyed the biggest success that band's ever going to have, and they continued to be very, very popular, but not like the absolute zenith of the grunge era. But he's been around with that band for a very long time, and he swears on Instagram that he's not retiring as a musician. He's still going to play, but he's 62 years old. This is what he's done for basically his entire adult life, or the biggest part of it. I gave you the best years of my life, and I get the impression that there's not a lot of bad blood there, because he also wrote things like much love and respect to Jeff, Ed, Mike, and Stone for inviting me into the band in '98, giving me the opportunity of a lifetime filled with friendship, artistry, challenges, and laughter, etc., etc. So it sounds like he's just leaving on his own terms, and that it's time. Maybe now he's made the money, he's had the fame. 62 years old. Let's see what I want to do now, as opposed to what I kind of got caught up doing, and suddenly that was my life.
Oh, another question. Ask if there's any chance for a Replacements reunion.
Boy, I guess there's always a chance. They've played not so long ago together. I guess maybe it's been quite a while now, not quite 10 years, maybe a little less than that. I haven't heard anything as regards that. I haven't heard anybody clamoring about it. I haven't heard any whispers in dark back smoke-filled rooms.
Minneapolis based, right?
Yeah. Paul Westerberg is one of the most. I realize it's going to sound laughable to people of a certain age, and to other people, it'll sound laughable the other direction. Paul Westerberg is a songsmith and a lyricist, and spoke for a generation as strongly and as eloquently as Bob Dylan did. And I'm not going to back off that. Am I saying he's Bob Dylan? No. To a generation, to a certain generation, and people who are at that juncture in space and time, he's bigger than Bob Dylan. So, Westerberg's a huge deal from a songwriting and critically acclaimed standpoint. Never like a superstar or household name, but people know who Paul Westerberg is. And, if Chris doesn't seem to be interested in it, the drummer, he is now a world-class fine artist. He does paintings that hang in galleries around the world and private collections. He's actually highly celebrated and very successful. I don't know the answer to that question. I would go see it if it happened, and I know a lot of other people would too.
Let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. As far as Minnesota artists go, I would suppose Bob Dylan and Prince are on the very top. Right. After that, you have Gary Lewis and the Jayhawks. You have the Replacements. Yep. You have
Husker Du. Yeah, Bob, Grant, and Greg.
And I'm leaving some out. I'm sure you know of all the. Is there one you would say after those first two, I would put this band or this artist in that next spot?
I think at that point it really comes down to personal preference because there have been so many incredible Minnesota artists. I know that for Tennessee, like for instance, the answer would be Yanni. You know, Yanni was once in the band Chameleon, but has gone on to. Am I the only one who knows the new age superstar Yanni?
I just did the yawn thing.
I see. Yeah, no, I got it.
It wasn't on board with Yanni. I just thought
Understood. No, that's personal choice, man. I mean, Husker Du literally changed my life, so I'd probably go Husker Du. But you could go the Suburbs. You could go. There are so many great artists who have come along, and then artists who maybe don't live on that particular strata that continue to make incredible music today. Part of the joy of the podcast I do is getting to stay in touch with so many of these people who sometimes are brand new to music, other times have been playing it longer than I've been going to see music. And I mean, who would you say after Prince and Bob Dylan?
I would say my nephew's Dank Skank. My nephew's band Dank Skank.
Dank Skank.
I would say they were the
Are you telling me those boys are hitting a lot of that Sweet Leaf and stuff?
All I know is they were pretty good. Matter of fact, you know, they'll both play with what's the reggae band out of Minneapolis that's really popular?
Well, there used to, way back in the day, there used to be like your Shangoyas and your Ipso Factos.
Are you familiar with Dread Eye Dread?
I know the name, but are they Minnesotan?
Yeah, I think so. They play with Dread Eye Dread a lot. My oldest nephew, Alex Jr., he's like traveled to Jamaica with them and so I think they're from Minneapolis, but I could be wrong.
Sounds like a bunch of hippies to me.
It could very well be.
They are Minneapolis based. Yeah. I don't know why I thought they were from somewhere else. Yeah. I guess I put them on a something bigger or wider reaching than local.
Yeah, Dread Eye Dread, and he plays from all the time, so he enjoys that work.
Yeah, I don't know who'd be next biggest.
Here's one. Fifth week of asking this question. I've ignored it because I don't know if it's serious or not, but I'm going to go with it.
Let's do it.
What was the kind of music they would play during the classic Scooby-Doo chase scenes? Would this be considered pop music back then or Beatles rock music?
I'm trying to think. Incidental music and TV and movie music is always, I think it stands apart because, and I collect a lot of it, like movie soundtracks and stuff, like Lalo Schifrin, the guy who did Mission Impossible and the Hawaii Five-0 soundtrack. Some of that stuff is bossa nova. Some of it's jazz. Some of it is jazz-oriented rock or rock-oriented jazz. Some of it is pure pop. It goes all over the map. But for Scooby-Doo, you know who you should ask? Is Tom the name of the guy who does your Common Man Open with the Spider-Man Common Man?
Tom Hips.
Yeah, Tom. Ask Tom. I bet he would have a better answer to this question than I would because it can be a lot. But Scooby-Doo specifically, there was some groovy stuff, and the theme song itself is absolutely a pop rock jam.
Scooby-Doo, hey, where are you?
Exactly, and it's got the groovy hip shaking guitar and have yourself a Scooby snack. It's always a little exaggerated, especially for a cartoon. But that's rock and roll. Yeah, there's rock in there.
How about Soul Asylum?
Oh, yeah, but they're up there. Now, you can argue, in some regards, are bigger than any of those other bands we rattled off because Soul Asylum was around through the 80s, into the 90s. They were great. And then they popped and actually had international super smash songs that everybody knew about. While people internationally know about the Replacements and Husker Du, Soul Asylum actually had sales numbers that kept them on major labels, and they were commercially a bigger deal than any of those other bands. Was their songwriting as foundational and as part of as much of the architecture of Minneapolis' sound? I would say not as much as a Replacements or a Husker Du, but Soul Asylum absolutely in the upper echelon of Minnesota rock bands ever.
How about Atmosphere?
Absolutely. Atmosphere's playing at the State Fair this year. Atmosphere, what's interesting is a lot of people think, this is a very white place to live and this is flyover country, and you're not going to get one of the most critically acclaimed and celebrated hip-hop bands in America, and really with a huge international reach. I saw them in Amsterdam once. Atmosphere is as good as Minnesota hip-hop has gotten, and that's saying a lot because when you bring in artists like Brother Ali, my guy Dwinell Rowland, so many incredible hip-hop artists have come through this area, but Atmosphere are big, and so they put on like Soundset every year, and this year they're playing at the Great Minnesota Get-Together in the Grandstand, and Cypress Hill, I believe, is also on that bill, so there's going to be a little Chiba out there. They should get some Chiba on a stick now that it's legal.
Information Society.
Fantastic. That's a totally different realm. That right there is electronic dance music with an 80s or real 80s style to it. Before it all turned into rave and real heavy beat stuff. They were a classic electronic pop band, and they had high energy, man. They had a couple of great albums and some really great songs that on the dance scene and on the club scene, which was still hugely popular in the 80s, they were absolute dance floor staples for a while there. InfoSoc is great, and they've all gone on to do music with a lot of other different artists and stuff as well.
The Big Woo.
Big Woo, that's your hippie jam band stuff right there, man. That's your, if you're into genuine Haight Ashbury vibes, that's your band right there. The Big Woo, and again, a proud tradition of jam bands through the 80s and 90s and into the 2000s in Minnesota. Crazy gonzo guys like Wookie Foot, but then you got the Big Woo, and there was the Goonie Birds and a bunch of others as well. But the Big Woo are sort of the nucleus, the heart of that scene.
Trampled by Turtles.
Bluegrass.
I had no idea that they were from Duluth.
They are. They're from Duluth. They're bluegrass, newgrass, and they're another band that, just because someone's good or brilliant is by no means a guarantee that anyone outside the area they make music in is going to give a rip. And Trampled is one of those bands that has gained real notoriety on the bluegrass, no matter what level or what location you look at the bluegrass family and the bluegrass scene, Trampled is always referred to as the absolute upper echelon of bands that play that.
Passport guy asks, what does Brian Oak think of a possible old Van Halen unreleased material possibly coming out soon?
Hadn't heard a word about it, but I'm all for it because my favorite Van Halen are those first few records. And if there was something from that era that had been previously unreleased, I'd love to hear it.
I love when they do lost tapes.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Although some of them, it's hard to imagine they've actually been lost that long. Like, Dylan put out that series of the Basement series or Bootleg series or whatever it was called. And there was just so much stuff that had never been released. I suppose when you recorded at the clip he did and the volume he did, there's no way it could have ever been released. But like when Hendrix, that new album from Hendrix came out some years back, I'm like, how did that sit completely unreleased and untouched for 50 years? I just, not even dribs and drabs of it here, never leaking ever. And then suddenly there's a brand new Jimi Hendrix record out that no one's heard.
And then finally on this one, this question says, because this was a local band that had a very meteoric rise, very short-lived, and then came crashing down like Comet Cahotek.
Limited warranty?
Meat Sauce and the Wailers.
Oh, man. Can you imagine? And now, Meat Sauce knows I love him, and we are brothers, to be very, very real about it. Can you imagine how terrible Meat Sauce and the Wailers were?
I thought they were pretty good.
When did you see them?
I didn't see them.
That's what I thought.
They performed at a Rube party.
They did perform at a Rube party.
Did they really?
Yeah, they did.
And so, Tenna, was it even... Obviously, there's no denying the charisma of Meat Sauce, right? There's no denying...
He's the most important person.
Shut up. You can both shut up. And I didn't even get very... Well, actually, I got pretty far in the tournament with that one.
Should have gotten further.
Well, I agree. But even though it was taken out of context. But
that's what we do.
Kind of what you do here.
Mark Craig, esteemed NFL writer for the Fish Wrap Factory, said the same thing. He said, why am I part of your silly... I'm paraphrasing, but he said, I never said that. You took me out of context. And I was like, well, yeah, that's what we do. Sorry.
It's a better bit that way.
We pulled him out.
Yeah, no. So, there's no question that he probably has the charisma to pull off being up there with the band. But I just can't. Can you see yourself, cataloging all your favorite releases from Meat Sauce and the Wailers and sitting down with your friends and pulling out the records off the wall and listening and talking about your favorite experiences and memories? All
I know, when Rolling Stone will have those comments from certain, all of a sudden, all I remember is Rolling Stone said, "It wails." That's what they said. It wails.
I'm seriously though, what kind of music did Meat Sauce and the Wailers do?
I kind of forgot about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, okay, all right. Well, proving my point even further that even if it's not terrible,
I thought
it's
the
not
Whalers were
memorable.
good.
Yeah.
I think they were misunderstood.
Yeah?
I think they're before their time.
Too early, right?
Too
Exactly.
early. They were just,
well, and a lot of visionaries aren't recognized
Right,
in
that's
their
exactly
time,
right.
And so,
Nostradamus.
Probably when he's on his deathbed or shortly afterwards, there'll be this wild resurgence in the popularity of kids getting tattoos.
Wasn't that the case with Nick Drake?
Very much so, yeah. And it wasn't even right at... He was a beneficiary, well, his legacy is a beneficiary of one of those first really, truly viral moments of song placement in a commercial. Mm-hmm. He got in that... they put Pink Moon in that VW commercial.
Oh, right.
With the kids all looking up at the stars out of the moonroof and that song. And everyone's like, who the hell is this? And it turned out it was one of the most celebrated sort of ethereal, folky English poet rockers there ever was. But most people had never heard his name before.
Yeah. Podcast number 499.
499.
Where can they find it?
Came out today. The Brian Oak Show podcast is widely available, but the best place to find it, really as it is with any of your podcasting favorites, would be at the free iHeartRadio app, which should actually be on your computer and on your handheld as we speak. For that and many other reasons, but episode 500 drops tomorrow.
Beautiful. Thank you, Brian Oak. Look forward to you next Wednesday for Rock Talk. Take a break, come back. Rosen next.
Want to feel more creative but don't have the right laptop? Lenovo.com can help. Look through our legendary lineup of AI-powered PCs and devices and find the one that fits your passion. Our PCs powered by Intel Core Ultra processors, as well as cutting-edge AI tools, allow students to focus, learn, and create with ease. That's the power of Lenovo with Intel inside. Plus, college students and teachers can get 5% off their order. Shop now on Lenovo.com. The future's waiting, and it needs you.